Hello, how is everyone doing? I've got levels, we're good. Another episode, broadcast edition, pick your label, breaking borders and shattering paradigms. I'll make this brief because many of you are returning viewers and you'll have heard this already. There are two components to the show. The first one is something that we call the 777 Club, which is focused or based upon our 5-step manifesting process. Many of you have got the home studies and been to workshops and things like that. There's a private Facebook group focused on that. So there's weekly teaching videos, there's live Zoom room get-togethers, there's immersive meditations, one-on-one sort of occasional coaching, if you will, with myself. That is a subscription group, $7.77 per month, per week. And you can, if you want to know about it or want to join, just DM me on here on Facebook and that'll work for you. So that's the first section. The second section is something that I've called convergence or convergence method. Now this one here is based upon, and there's many different names for it. You really see the key word you'll see in the transition video is reemergence, which is a really good word for it. It's the reemergence of the feminine energy flow, and that we've been seeing now for a while now, and not just me, but so many others. And you see this cropping up really all over the place. You see the words, whether it's feminine energy, divine feminine, earth energy, sensual energy, sexual energy, core energy, creative. I mean, there's all these different labels for it. Now, when I think about it, sort of spontaneously is very appropriate, because one of the aspects of the feminine energy is you can't define it or confine it. You can guide or direct it, which is the second part of the show. That one there. We also have a private Facebook group, no charge for this one. It's called The Conversations We All Want to Have. Many of you are part of that. If you want to be part of that one, then send me a DM and I'll, it's a private group, so I'll have to send you an invite to get to that. Okay, today is what? It is, wow, November the 19th. Go figure, eh? Jeez. Another interesting year, isn't it? I tell you, it is absolutely crazy. Okay, let's go into the first portion of the show. So, as the transition said, 777 Club Mini free mini tip. Now, this one here, and often these tips are very mechanical, because that's one of the desires that I've had, and the perspectives maybe that I've taken really from the beginning back in 2004 was for my own purposes, and then sharing it with you guys, was taking some of these concepts, principles, philosophies, theories that sometimes use really kind of ephemeral words and phrases, and you're going, well, that really sounds fancy and fluffy, but what the hell do I do with it, and how can I use it today? And so that's something that I've done, again, for myself, and then sharing it with you guys, which is really where geometrics was birthed. Many of you have seen that, circles and triangles and all that cool stuff. Topic for another discussion. What I wanted to talk about in this show is something that's popped up this week. It popped up in my mind, my awareness. The phrase warriors in training. Now, I received this phrase, as I said, when I started this journey way back in 2004. Many of you have heard this story, sitting underneath this weeping willow tree, figuring out what this meditation stuff was. And there was like a world beneath the world that we see. And I probably hadn't watched it yet, but I know early on I'd watched a movie called The Celestine Prophecy, which is a really good, there's a series of books, and there was this movie that was made about it, that the world is so much more than this thin physical veneer that we call physicality. So sitting underneath this tree, I actually received the words and the flavoring of it, I guess you would say, a picture in my mind of warriors in training. And I really like that word warrior. And who knows, maybe we'll do some talking about that in the future. But for now, the context I wanted to just talk briefly about was, many of you have been on your journey for quite some time now. Some of you have maybe just started. And probably the best, I don't want to say advice. Hmm. The most powerful thing I've learned since the beginning is that we really are warriors. Now, for me, the context of that is a warrior is not someone that's looking for a battle, but they also are very aware that as they move, grow, expand, and evolve, the battle may find them. So a warrior in this context is one that really is looking for peace, but understanding that the battle may find them as they're experiencing that journey toward and in and through peace. So that's kind of in a nutshell the context of warrior. You can go on the internet and in about 37 seconds, you could do a search and you could download a meditation or the secret mantra or the missing secret or the whatever, that if you just do this in 3 days, you'll have your Maserati and be fabulously wealthy and travel the world and all that kind of stuff. And you will never have any problems or challenges. Now, whether it's consciously shared that way or sort of unconsciously shared that way, I don't know, probably a mixture of both. But I think that's one of the, and this is why for myself, I've always tried to keep it real with you guys and not, I mean, I'm not saying this is a journey of just, oh God, ultimate sacrifice and dragging your ass through the gravel and all that kind of stuff at all. But it's also not one that's just littered with roses and sunshine and you just kind of float from one thing to the other. Theoretically, is that possible? Yeah, I suppose. But practically, probably not. And I can just about guarantee practically it isn't. Now, this isn't a bad thing. But understanding that none of this stuff is magic. There are mechanics behind it. And since I've been on this journey, so 2004, so what are we at, 16 years or something like that? The science that has just exploded in that time that validates so many of these, if you want to call them spiritual teachings, that at one point in time were just spiritual teachings. And now really hardcore peer-reviewed data is supporting and understanding that, holy cow, there's actually science to this stuff. Wow, look at that. We can measure it. We can watch it. And that's the thing that's important to remember, is it's not magic. It can feel magical, absolutely. And it can sometimes feel like you're going through the seventh ring of hell kind of thing as well. And so it's important to understand that both of those are true. Now, do we go looking, and this is me and my phrases and stuff, but I'm not saying that we go looking for demons under every couch cushion. Because again, what you focus on, you're going to get more of. So if you're going out looking for a battle, then you're probably going to find, I'm rambling a little bit here, but that's okay. I'm just going to do it. I watched a documentary a long time ago, and it was Exorcist. And so there was I don't know the denomination or the area or the region or anything like that at all. It showed this one exorcism, and it was somebody with, and this is just what I saw, right? I'm not saying anything more than that. It's the whole flavoring of it. And they were kind of waving this document, let's say, at this person. It's kind of, come out, you unclean spirit. And this person was snarling, and this was a documentary, right? And they were getting rid of this demon. And then they showed another one that was, it's somewhere in Asia, I don't know where. And it was another exorcism. So these people that were possessed, they were laying on a mat, and the exorcist was kind of going around, and they were just kind of doing whatever they were doing. And it was the most peaceful, serene thing you ever saw. And, I don't know. I think sometimes we find ourselves in both of those. Sometimes it is that just nice, peaceful releasing, and off we go. And other times it's like, and then sometimes it feels like they're doing the same thing back to us, right? It's them voices, right? Them voices in your head. And there's some days that you're riding herd on those voices. You're the leader of your pack, and we're going this way, and they're in line, and everything's good. And then there's other days you're going to get your ass kicked. And you're going to feel like, I don't know, quitting and giving up. And what the hell was I thinking? And this is probably okay, here's the point of the whole thing. We have been conditioned in this community so often that when we have those, I call them dragon slayer moments, that we've decided we must be doing something wrong. Because if we were doing everything right, or like this 1495 meditation that we downloaded 3 days ago, and you can levitate by tomorrow evening and all that kind of stuff. If things aren't just roses and sunshine, we must be doing something wrong, which is one of the biggest, it's the biggest fallacy we sometimes so often fall under, myself included at times, is if I'm doing everything right, I should never have any problems. I should never have any challenges. I should never have those times when I absolutely get my ass kicked and sort of haul my broken, decrepit body off in the corner and go, that's it. I'm done. I'm tapping out. Take me now. Sort of thing, right? And I chuckle about it, but I tell you, when those things are happening, that's the last thing you feel like doing. This is a journey, and for those that choose to embrace it to its fullest, there is amazing glory. It's one of the best words. Strong. Whoa, that was strong. One of the best words that comes to my awareness is there is glory, and it's there for you. And I've experienced it. I did a video. I was in teaching in Oahu, and after I was done teaching, I went to a Bedouin temple. And I actually did a video there. It's on the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, about, the title was kind of without challenges, there is no glory. I also did another one. I think it was a picture from the beach in, oh goodness, Oceanside, I think. Okay, I remember now. Anyway, down in California, and it was it's going to be gone now. So the magnitude of the challenges are equal to the glory that is on the other side of it. And so if you're doing well today and riding high, that's perfect. You just enjoy that momentum and you just keep it rocking and rolling. And it's not like you're like, oh God, when's it going to end? And when's this bad thing going to happen? Don't go looking for it, but understand it may show up. And if it does show up, you're not doing anything wrong. In a really kind of ironic way, you may be doing something right. Because one of Newton's, I don't know if it's the first law, probably isn't, but anyway, one of Newton's laws is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So in this ironic way, if you're riding high and then you hit this peak, and then it feels like you just get your feet knocked out from under you, right? And you go, what the hell just happened? In this ironic way, that's one of the best indicators that you've made a breakthrough. And you see, for those that have vision, they're able to see through, this is really good, able to see through those obstacles, challenges, the ass kicking they got to the other side. Even if you can't see what the other side looks like. And this, wow, I did not plan on saying this. To choose to see my hashtag living from the other side, even when you can't see what the other side looks like, is so incredibly powerful. To choose to see the other side when you really, really don't feel like it. To choose to see the other side when all you can see around you is like fires burning. To choose to see the other side even when you're in pain. Right? To choose to see that other side. In so many respects, you're doing nothing wrong. You're probably doing everything right. And so often, it's right after, I'll call them those victories, that then the challenge comes and tries to take away the victory. Again, don't go looking for this. But to me, it's important that you're aware if, and I probably more accurately, when it shows up. And when it shows up, know that you're not doing anything wrong. You're probably doing an awful lot right. And that's that point in time. Think of a warrior. They don't go looking for a fight. They know sometimes one will find them. And there's going to be some they win, and there's going to be some they get their ass kicked and they crawl off, and they take time to heal. But not for 1 second do they ever entertain the possibility that they're not, as soon as they can move again, that they're not going right back out there. And to me, Warriors in Training is exactly what that's about. Doesn't mean we win every time. It sometimes we just mess it up really, really deeply and badly. Sometimes we hit the tree full on and smash and crash. And if we do, we do. And if we're wounded, we're wounded. And if we feel like giving up and quitting, we feel that. We feel those wounds. Not for 1 second do we contemplate. As soon as we have any amount of strength and determination and fortitude left in us, we get right back up and we keep walking towards the glory that's on the other side. Even though you may not see it right now, know that it is there. That was really, really good. And why things are so different now is what I'm going to talk about in the convergence portion of the show. So let's head over there now. Convergence, or the reemergence, I said that fast 3 times, of the feminine flow. If you're tuning into this segment, because I segment the two, and I've got them on YouTube and in podcast format and things like that. Just if you want to see the full shows, I've got an app. Yeah, I'm still kind of playing around with it. I've got an app. I'll post a link here that you can go in, and there's links to the videos, the podcasts, and things like that. For now, go to YouTube. Go to, I don't know the prompter, otherwise I'd put it up. Go to video.healingcenter.ca, and it'll take you to the video, to the YouTube channel. And if you click through the playlist, you're going to find the full show. Anyway, so in the 777 manifesting portion of the show, if you're again watching this just as a clip, what I was talking about was, I'm going to put it in a really tiny nutshell, persistence, determination, that we're like warriors and we don't go looking for a battle, but we also are very aware that in in manifesting our desires, the battle may find us. And that when that happens, to understand, first of all, that we're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, maybe you screwed up. I don't know. But just because you're having challenges doesn't mean you're not somehow doing the process correctly or things like that. And your greatest strength right now is to choose to see the other side, even though you might not be able to see it in that moment. Now, why are things so different now than they have been? Again, as I say, you've heard me say, I'm sure before, it's very much like a renaissance. Those movements that change the face of the globe, really, in ways that I'm very confident I haven't experienced in my years here, and I've been here a lot more years than most of you. And it's the reemergence of the feminine energy. Now, why is that so powerful? Well, the reason, so let me see how this is doing. Oof, I got to cool down my broadcaster here. I've been going too long. There we go. We'll just put you right there. The reason that is so that's the reemergence of this is a game changer is because the nature of the feminine energy flow is one of power. Now, I just want to touch on power just a little bit. Power that is not externally focused or generated. See, so many of the normals, they think that they have power, or they're looking for power, but what they're really looking for is control. So control has everything to do with the external world. So those people that think they are powerful because they have oh my goodness, they have things you don't. They have privileges. There's the word, privileges that you don't. I mean, they can say, do this, do this, do this. I'm very powerful. No, that's not. That's control. Power has nothing to do with your external environment. Power has to do everything with your internal environment. And interestingly enough, and ironically, power, the true definition of it, is the complete absence of the need to control anything and everything in your physical surroundings. the feminine energy, the nature of the feminine energy is one of power, if you will, pure power, unfettered, creative power. That same power that it just knows how to create. That's all it knows how to do, is create. That's minimizing it way more than it should be, but that's what it does, is it creates. It's like it gives form to the picture that just popped into my mind is when I was going to when I was in grade 8, we went to shop class, and we made things out of clay. So you had a plaster mold, and then you took the clay, which was like a slurry, and you poured it into the mold. And then, of course, the clay took the form of the mold, right? Well, in many respects, you can think of the feminine energy as the clay, right? It's almost like a slurry, so it's liquid. And this liquid, in many respects, has no form when you look at it. So this liquid is looking for a form to fill. And that's the topic of this portion of the show, is the feminine energy. And sometimes I think we get stuck into its, and remember, a masculine energy, feminine energy is not male, female. It's the characteristics of it, right? Is that, and it's almost a connotation of it, is that the masculine energy is somehow evil or bad or all that kind of stuff. Well, it's not really evil or bad. It's just when it's completely over leveraged in that direction, then it manifests as control. So then the byproduct or the outcome of it is sure a whole lot less than you'd want to see. But it's not that it's inherently bad. It's just that it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. See, and this is one of the big things that have been going on for generations upon generations, is because that feminine energy flow has been stifled, has been allowed to atrophy, has been vilified, all sorts of wonderful words. So now we're trying to do everything with the masculine. So that's kind of like with my good old clay mold. You've got a plaster mold of a vase, but you've got no clay to fill it. And you're trying to somehow make this vase with this plaster mold without the clay to fill it. Well, it's just not going to work. And so the masculine very much is like the plaster mold. It gives a form for the feminine energy to give form to, which is really kind of interesting. So it's not this reemergence of the feminine that's washing the masculine away. It's a reemergence of the feminine blending with the masculine. And now you've got the power. You see, if you think about it, use my whole clay analogy. If you got this big bucket of liquid, like clay, right, slurry, and you just pour it on the floor, it just goes everywhere. It just kind of makes a mess when you think about it, right? You see, so the masculine needs a feminine, and the feminine needs the masculine. Because clay without a form to fill is just nothing. At least it doesn't serve like a purpose. It wants to become something in our physical experience, right? And it's like electricity. You got electricity in the wall, but it doesn't do a damn thing until you plug something into it. And so as this feminine is reemerging, what it's looking for is you and me to create these plaster casts so it can flow into it and give it form, which really fits in well with the warrior, because the warrior is one that holds that. It holds that form. So what's the form? The form is your desire, right? The form is the experience you want to see. The form is the flavoring of the experience you want to see. That's the form. But then, excuse me, then as we surrender to that feminine energy flow, we're now allowing that clay to flow into the cast and to give it form. Which is why it's a blending of the warrior. I don't know what the other word for this is. The warrior and that creative flowing to blend together. Very powerful strength, and to hold your vision, right? The masculine, the plaster form, to hold that vision, but understand it's not our job to fill it, to give it form. See, this is what you focus. This is what you hold. This is what when the resistance comes, it's going to try and shatter that form. And maybe sometimes it does. So then build it again. Maybe sometimes it causes it to crack. Well, fill it up and repair the crack and hold that form. But then surrendering, which is a big piece of what convergence is all about, and the Facebook group is about, surrendering to that feminine flow and allowing that clay to flow into the plaster and then give it form. And an interesting end to this little journey, and the end of the show is that clay flows into the form, and then we would have to leave it overnight or however long, because the plaster would then absorb the nutrients out of the clay. Then you would take the plaster off, and there is the shape. So there's this wonderful experience of creating the form, surrendering to that which gives form to it, flows into it. As it's flowing into it, that plaster cast is there to hold and support it for a period of time and draw that moisture out of the clay. And then when the time is right, the plaster cast is released. And there's a beautiful vase, which is a wonderful example of how the manifesting process was always designed to be. And now in a very powerful way, there is potentials and access to these resources that we've never had, at least in our lifetimes, to manifest things that we never dreamed we could manifest before. Maybe for a long, long time, you've had that plaster cast, but it just doesn't ever seem to have formed. The feminine is reemerging to give it form, which is a big piece of what convergence is all about. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it so much. As I said, I clip these out. I post them on YouTube under playlists. I'll post maybe some links in the comments or something like that. Share. We're all in this together. If you want to be part of either group, 777 Club, or conversations we all want to have, message me. I'll send you details. See you on the web.